All right, folks, today is July 16th, 2025, and you know what I've been saying for a long time on my channel, let all truth be revealed. And one of the things that we've tried to do here is protect the XRP family, and we find ourselves in a new Linqto situation, a new resistance that we're having to put up, and we have an exclusive update here, breaking news from Rob Cunningham in regards to this Linqto situation. And I want to thank Rob for bringing this to our channel and allowing us to help share this message out. I would just ask everybody, if you have comments or questions, you can drop them. We might have some time after we go through the update to take some questions live. But I do want to say, please help us out by sharing this out far and wide. And we're going to hand it off to Rob. Thank you again, brother, for joining us.
Well, Zach, I can't thank you enough, not only for our friendship, but all the work you do. And when this came across my desk, I mean, I was like, bam, the first person I'm calling is Zach. And, maybe it's a God wink, but you were available. I know you're a busy man, but I would like to just echo what you said. If I want people to hear our side of the story, what we think is happening, what we know is happening. A press release was dropped today, and a filing was dropped today in the Bankruptcy Court of Texas, the Southern District in Houston. Okay. And so if it's okay with you, just to set the mood or set the discussion, I'm going to read the press release because I've only glanced over it once, but I want to share it with you and your audience. And again, I'd like everyone listening to this, whether you have a dog in this fight or you don't, whether you're a shareholder, whether you're a customer, whether you're a skeptic, whatever, let all truth be revealed. These
Amen.
are the fact patterns as we see them. Okay.
Yeah.
So here's the press release.
Real quick, Rob, just for anybody, I'm sure everybody's familiar with this situation for the most part, but for those who don't know, Linqto's already been going through a bankruptcy process now in Texas. What was the district that it was originally filed, Rob?
Southern District of Texas in Houston.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Rob has a new update. Take it away, Rob.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you for that background. Okay. So our press release in response to their July the 7th, 7/7, filing in bankruptcy court in the Southern District of Texas goes as follows. The Linqto shareholder Sapien Group files an explosive motion to transfer venue of Linqto's bankruptcy case from Texas to Delaware. A supporting declaration, which is in the public domain, asserts proceedings are part of a well-orchestrated scheme designed to steal shareholder equity. The motion says shareholder votes exist to remove this unsanctioned board. So, dated today, major Linqto shareholder Sapien Group has filed a motion to transfer the venue of Linqto Inc.'s jointly administered Chapter 11 cases from Texas to Delaware. The motion follows the bankruptcy filing by Linqto in Texas on July 7 and asserts multiple grounds for the change in venue, including that the action was taken without shareholder knowledge or consent. Transfer is warranted because the debtors lack any meaningful relationship whatsoever with the district. Entrenched management, having created the Texas debtor as a new Texas limited liability company only 3 short months before filing for bankruptcy, the filing says. The Texas debtor was formed furtively without the knowledge of or approval of or even a scintilla of notice to the parent debtor stakeholders, shareholders, it continues. Evidence suggests Linqto Chief Executive Officer F. Daniel Siciliano filed preemptively, knowing that a decisive majority of shareholders were poised to replace the board in a jurisdiction where Linqto is not legally eligible to file based on the surreptitious creation of the Texas entity. And as a side note, you're supposed to be 180 days cured, at least be in the residence, an LLC in Texas for 180 days. They were only there 90. They don't even have lawful jurisdiction before the Southern District of Texas to file this complaint. They have no employees and no revenue and no jurisdictional authority by Texas law to file this complaint.
So let me catch folks up to speed real quick, Rob. What happened, what Rob's laying out here is that they set up an LLC in Texas, about 90 days, you say, before they filed this bankruptcy process. So they did not give the entity enough time to cure or be established. There is no established Linqto entity, employees, or any assets in that jurisdiction until 90 days before they set up this LLC, and then they filed the bankruptcy so that they could place it in this court. And I've already been looking at some of the other precedent, and this court is being investigated. There's ongoing investigations. There's some contentious cases that have came out of this jurisdiction. We've seen I call them the kangaroo courts across this country. This is one of those jurisdictions, but specifically for bankruptcy filings. So continue, Rob.
Sure. I'll start off. Let's see. A review of the records on file with the Texas Secretary of State reveals that the Texas debtor was not even in existence for the entire 180-day period leading up to the filing of the cases. The motion contends that the true operating debtors, the parent debtor, and the related operating debtors are all formed, exist, and operate under the internal laws of the state of Delaware. The motion further asserts that the filing of the cases in Texas appears to be a quintessential example of improper forum shopping, with the newly formed Texas debtor being created for the apparent purpose of manufacturing and manipulating venue before the bankruptcy court in Texas. The filing further challenges the legal legitimacy of Linqto's current board, contending it is unsanctioned and without proper authority, citing that Mr. Siciliano was never lawfully elected to the unsanctioned board and that key director seats were unlawfully switched to consolidate power, actions that are contrary to their fiduciary duties under Delaware law. The motion also spotlights issues around the behavior of Linqto's alleged board, demonstrating they reportedly ignored and manipulated corporate governance rules. It is, quote, under suspicion for a host of reasons, unquote, the filing states, including not upholding proper board meetings, making inconsistent representations to shareholders, and amending Linqto Inc.'s bylaws for purposes of evading shareholder approval. These allegations are supported by a declaration of Victor Jang, Sapien Group's founder, which outlines numerous instances of failure to adhere to corporate governance requirements under both Delaware law and the company's bylaws by Linqto's current unsanctioned management. The explosive declaration also accuses Linqto's alleged board and management of numerous breaches of fiduciary duties, breaches of the duty of loyalty, and securities law violations, and that the current bankruptcy filings are part of, quote, part of a well-orchestrated scheme, unquote, designed to steal or redirect the shareholders' equity without consent. Feeding into shareholder concern are 4 motions that were filed by the Texas debtor and set for hearing on August 5, 2025, one of which seeks a fairly rapid determination from the court that the proceeds of the various securities are property of the debtors, not the customers. The notion suggests that the requisite number of shareholder votes exist to remove the unsanctioned board and appoint a new board, but the Chapter 11 case was filed to thwart that vote. With over 15,000 impacted customers across 130 countries, the motion underscores the global significance of these proceedings and the need for fairness, transparency, and the rule of law. End of press release.
So this press release just dropped. You wanted to bring us the exclusive breaking update here so that we could start to echo this one out to everybody in the community. I just ask that you guys share this out far and wide, especially to parties that are invested or curious about this situation. There's a lot that our community can learn from what's taking place right now. So there's a couple things here, Rob. And I meant to ask this last time because I've been wondering this for a while. You mentioned the board, an unsanctioned board, and a new CEO. How did these board members come about? And how did we end up with this current board?
It's great questions, Zach. I mean, the founders this company was actually formed as the name Linqto as an entity in 2010. And it operated for 10 years before it switched its focus to financial services and pre-IPO investing. So it is it's important to understand that administrative issues and errors and technicalities, if you will, have not been closely adhered to by the previous board and especially the current board. Okay? Technicalities and irregularities, bad bookkeeping, maybe even some sloppy registration processes. Zach, what I'd like the audience to take away from this, if nothing else, is there is zero necessity. If you go to a dentist, you say, I got a toothache, I haven't been brushing my teeth, and I've been neglecting, and I got a cavity. If he prescribes chemotherapy to fix my cavity, I need to find a new dentist. Okay? And so what we have here is 15,000 investors with multiple billions of dollars of value and unrealized capital gains and personal property and smart investing. And we got these new guys that show up and decide that we need chemo and they need to go to Chapter 11. We can only solve these administrative irregularities through bankruptcy process. We can't get around and act like adults and fix this. But we do have a closed-end fund on the backside. We sure would like to put all these assets in. So why don't we just go ahead and administer some chemo to the patient here and change the situation?
Right.
That, Zach, is in layman's terms, the big picture of what's happening here.
So we have two issues really that I'm seeing that you pointed out, two bigger issues, which is the board being unsanctioned in their current role and capacity, and then the jurisdiction in which they filed this bankruptcy filing. So your issue now is in the joint that, the motion that you've now filed is to bring this case
again, it's Sapien Group, and this majority shareholder is in Australia, and they're the longest, I believe, investor, one of the longest, with a clear majority of shareholder stock and governance voting rights. Okay. I mean,
so this isn't coming from some little.
This ain't coming from me.
Right.
No. This is not Rob speaking. This is a consortium of very brilliant, bright minds that know their business. And we're not going up against any like Tom, Dick, and Harry law firm that the new kids on the block at Linqto have hired either. We can't go in this arena in the featherweight, division and try to fight Mike Tyson. So we have, Zach, I would like everyone that can hear this recording or this live, if you know anyone at Linqto, if you know a shareholder, if you know an employee, if you know a friend, even if you know an enemy, that you please share this, because as you said, truth matters most. This is, in my mind, and I am a substantial investor on the platform, this is an attempted grand larceny.
Yeah.
You know what? These are my kids' inheritance, my wife, our property. There is no rational, moral, common sense, good governance practice that can come anywhere close to justifying this bankruptcy solution to a tooth cavity.
Right.
Nothing can justify this, Zach.
Now, you said something to me about there's going to be 24 hours to respond. Is this to your filing?
Well, again, it's not mine. It is Sapien Group's
Or-
filing, but my understanding is that when there is an emergency motion for change of venue, I believe the court code is it needs to be addressed immediately within, I think it's 24 hours. Don't hold me to it, Zach. I'm not a lawyer,
Right.
but that's what my understanding is that there's enough, not only this press release that I just printed off, Zach, but if people will find this, and I've tweeted out this press release on my X account, I sent it out at Cool Show or look up Rob Cunningham. This press release links to the filing, and it will also link to a very detailed point by point declaration under penalty of perjury that Victor Jang, this majority shareholder, has put in the public domain and attached to the filing in Texas. So there is explosive content, and either Victor's telling the truth or he's going to jail. And I can tell you, I don't think he's going to jail, Zach.
Yeah, right. And so the clock is ticking now, because when we had our first call, the bankruptcy filing had not been filed yet. We knew
Correct.
It was probably coming, and that's where we're at now. Now, the next hearing that I'm aware of is August 5th.
Correct.
But I had just seen here, John Deaton did just put out a post a couple hours ago, it looks like, about a recent motion by the debtor, Linqto, to use the proceeds from the unauthorized sale of Ripple shares by previous management. And this filing, I guess, there's a 21-day deadline to respond to that motion. So there's multiple, motions that are being filed within this case. And I don't know if you want to comment on that particular issue.
I do.
Go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, Zach, and to everyone listening to this, if you know, and I know, and Linqto knows that there's like $18.8 million of proceeds that came from Ripple in the form of a tender offer directed to go to customers. Pretty simple.
Yeah.
Why are the governance gurus saying, well, the bookkeeping's a little shady. We're not sure who owns what and where, and the filing was bad. So we're just going to claim that $18.8 million as part of the Linqto estate. The good governance crew is going to take that property. If I don't know how much the lawyers will get, but we're going to take that property because we're not sure that 18.8 million belongs to which customers. If that's not enough to know the nature of the adversary that we're dealing with here, if they will rationalize in their mind that they think that money is property of the estate and not the province and the property of innocent shareholders who purchased Ripple and are due that money, I don't need to say anything more.
Now, Rob, can you comment though on do we have an explanation on why that happened? Like, because from my understanding, this was not approved by clients. So do we know who approved this and why it was done?
Now, those are great questions and they have to be answered. And I do not know the answers to those. I haven't looked at the books. I haven't, been under an NDA. I've never been on the board. I've never been an employee. I don't know. Okay. There's narratives, Zach, all over the place out there. If you want a narrative, go to spend 20 minutes on social media. You can have 26 of them, right?
Well, that answers my next question, Rob, which I'm assuming you haven't talked to Bill Saris. Has anybody talked to Bill or heard from Bill, or did he hasn't showed up? He's gone.
Well,
has anybody talked to him?
I don't think he's not gone because I think, Mr. Deaton has filed a class action lawsuit against him.
Oh, that was my follow-up, was your thoughts on the case that Deaton has filed, which basically puts everything on Bill Saris.
It does. And so, and the best word that I can come up with to characterize this, Zach, is unfortunate. Okay. Why do I say unfortunate? Because we've had a one-sided narrative since the time this new crew showed up in January, since they shut down the platform in March, since we've had these one-sided, you know, conversations where Dan just talks and everybody has to listen. And if you want to attend, you have to have an NDA. And then we get this one-sided Wall Street Journal hit job. Okay. And then we get the John Deaton lawsuit against Bill Saris. So what we've had as unit holders and shareholders is a narrative that have all unfortunately synergized together as Dan good guy, Dan the white hat, bad Linqto, Dan and here to save the day, you know. And today, in the last 45 minutes, the actual counter to all of that spin and narrative and one-sided synchronicity has been countered. Okay. You only get one shot to make a good first impression. And we had to take our time. We had to get facts together, or the team did, that's all rallying around these 15,000 unit holders. And you know how messy these things can be. There's a lot of details, there's a lot of technicalities, and there's a lot of gamesmanship that takes place in the weaponization of the legal system. Yeah. So unfortunately, we have to play as strictly as we can to the rules as the way the court system is set up. Look at what they put Donald Trump through, right? Yeah. I mean, you had to go through all of that process, whether it was flat ass wrong and everybody knew it was wrong and everybody knew it was being weaponized against with selective targeting. You still, unfortunately, had to go through this process. So, you know, for all those that have reached out to freelinkto.com, Zach, I just want them to understand that I have not in any manner had an intention to not be more forthcoming and more engaging and more collaborative. But at the same time, you know, I had to kind of keep my cards close to the chest.
Yeah. Well, and you've told me that you don't just have a couple bombs, you got a stockpile of cluster bombs waiting as far as counter moves go. And I just want to commend you on your fight. Everybody interested in this matter needs to follow Rob. Definitely a patriot, and go to Linqto. But in the interest of time, Rob, I got a couple questions here that I want to get to. And somebody asked, what does the SEC have to say about this? This is the interesting thing about this case. One of many things is that there was no formal filing or case or charges brought from the SEC other than claims of an investigation. Correct. Which it appears that there is an ongoing investigation and negotiation, maybe a conversation, right? But like you said, what this new board has opted for is let's just execute the patient instead of filling the cavity. Well, you know, so have we heard of any formal SEC, anything more than just an investigation?
Thank you, Zach. Let's define two words: review and investigation. Okay, regarding this matter, one requires a target of an investigation. There's no targeting letter. There are reviews. They're looking at stuff, but they look at everything. They look at Tesla. They look at Truth Social. They look at Microsoft. They look at it. They look at NVIDIA. They look at Robinhood. They look at everything. An investigation and a review are two different things. Okay, so look, is there going to be some findings of sloppiness or irregularities or administrative things that should have been done better or were out of line? Oh yeah, but guess what? Both camps are going to have a lot. And I'm going to say, I say this kind of tongue in cheek, Zach, all the time, but as imperfect as a person can be, and maybe as sloppy as they can be, and maybe they didn't follow all the administrative details the way they should have. If someone can set up an organization where $400 million gets invested and $2 billion grows out of the $400 million, screw me some more.
Yeah, give me some more of
Okay.
that. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, give me some more of that. If
yeah.
you think that there's a malevolent or a malignant or a an ulterior motive to the mission that was purported to give the common person access to private equity to try to be able to get in and buy these really cool companies at an early date and watch them appreciate, as 15,000 people have done, and that deserves chemotherapy. You cannot make this story make sense unless you follow the money.
Yeah.
It's the only way you can make this story anywhere lucid in your mind.
So if you want to know I'm just going to make this comment right now. If you want to know how valuable Ripple's going to be, look at what these private equity profiteers are willing to do to get those Ripple shares. I'm just going to throw that piece out there. But the question now that everybody's asking, because a lot of people are down and think that we're down and out, there's no chance to getting our money back or our shares back. So let's run
They're
through
wrong.
this.
They are wrong, Zach. I want everyone in the sound of my voice to fear not, be not afraid. The truth roars like a lion. It doesn't even need to be defended. We have to set the truth free on the record. People in every jurisdiction, they need to get smart on this. They need to get the knowledge of the facts of what's going on. And then we can, when necessary, we can go to our congressmen, we can go to our senators, we can go to the SEC website, we can write a complaint. We need to unite together and understand this isn't about saying one board was perfect and the other one wasn't. This is about saying what were the degree of problems with the first that need to be fixed, and is the remedy anywhere close to common sense or reasonable with the irregularities or the administrative misfilings or sloppiness that might have happened with the previous board. Mm-hmm. Those questions that are being asked of Bill Saris, in my mind, personal opinion, are minuscule in comparison to this filing, this attestation from Victor Jang, the shareholder, Mr. Good Governance attorney from Stanford Law, should know damn well better than violating all the things that he's violated in the corporate governance world that are listed in these filings. And his attorneys have a fiduciary obligation to understand what Dan should have and should not have been doing. So if we want to play this game of putting all the truth on the table and letting the chips fall where they may, the game started today.
And is there any more concern for the non-accredited versus the accredited? I know that you're trying to keep everybody together, but when it actually comes down to fixing this and amending this issue, is there any concern that you have? Now, I've been telling folks, it looks to me like at the bare minimum, everybody's going to get their money back. What we want is our shares, though. Right. But is there any concern non-accredited versus credited for you?
Zach, I have faith in the new administration. I have faith in Paul Atkins. I have faith in the bylaws. I have faith in the fact that if people of goodwill and good intentions will get around a table and figure out the who, what, when, where, how, and why, we will fix this problem for the benefit of all. Okay? On a go-forward basis, might we need to, separate some non-accredited and accredited, or get back in line where you only have no more than 35 non-accredited. And if there were some KYC, slip-ups, we fix them. If there's fines or penalties that need to be applied, we pay them. But the death sentence or the complete restructuring or, open heart surgery of the Linqto body is not called for. So if people of good mind, good intent, with a common law and a mindset of abundance want to solve this problem, we can solve this problem. I don't have any concerns.
That sounds like this administration. That sounds like Paul Atkins. That does not sound like the SEC that we were dealing with Gary Gensler and kill everybody. So my wish, my hope, my prayer is that we are going to be able to come to a deal, whether that's restructuring the SPVs, you bring it into compliance, you pay a fine. If Bill did some
Correct.
bad things, Bill's going to do the time that he needs to do. But
Right.
there's a lot being alleged. And like you said, this whole narrative has been one-sided until now, until you, along with others, have stepped up. Now, I know that you're in communication with this group, this law firm that's bringing this up, this investor that's moving forward. In summary, Rob, the goal here is to move.
But Zach, for the record, only through tangential conversations. I'm not a client of, I'm not represented by, I'm not privy to any detailed information along those lines. All that we're talking about today and all you and I are having conversations with is what's on the public domain.
Yes. And the goal is to move the jurisdiction, or is it to move the jurisdiction and end the bankruptcy filing as well?
Well, we would, I think, according to the filings that I've read, and literally, Zach, I haven't even got to go look at all the filing or even Victor's letter because this thing just came across. It just came out.
Yeah.
But from casual conversation, I understand the process would be, look, if you've got incompetent pilots that don't know how to fly a jet, first thing you do is get good, competent pilots in the jet, and you go from there.
Yeah.
Okay. What needs to happen next? And then the 3, 4, 5, and 6 steps down the road. Obviously, you need competency. You need to fix any compliance problems, and you need to get the airplane back to altitude with revenue coming into the airplane.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, we don't want to take steps that look like, in the rearview mirror, to me, Zach, the last 6 months looks like intentional bankruptcy. Turn all the revenue off, stop everything, send out press releases that make it look like this is a terrible organization, send out character assassination missives about the prior CEO being a dirtbag, damaging the brand and damaging the idea of the company and stopping all the revenue and hiring these insanely expensive attorneys, all to try to manifest your point of view into reality. It's almost as if they want this thing to go into bankruptcy so then they can eat away at the carcass.
Right.
So it's so frustrating because, again, if you follow the money, you can see that this narrative that I just explained makes sense. If you have a good heart of abundance and you want to do the right thing and you want to be a servant leader and take care of honest, innocent investors, then you get around a table and you fix this. Yeah. You don't go into the UFC cage fight of a bankruptcy court with a bunch of sharks in there and try to think you're going to come out unbruised, without a broken nose, without broken arms, and you're all going to have an equitable, go along to get along solution when you're locked into a cage fight. That's not the arena to do this.
And the good news, folks, is that we have some great legal minds already working on this. The Sapien Group that's made this filing. We know John Deaton's made his motion. So we got a resistance forming of people that have the best intentions for shareholders and customers of this platform, which was an absolute success. A couple foot-fought violations, as we refer to them. Until we see anything on the record that's factual, we have to determine what happened, what went wrong, and we should be working to a situation that allows the customers to see the appreciation of their investments, which is well into the billions of dollars. Yes. So, Rob, I got to commend you for being a patriot on all fronts. On this matter in particular, thank you for taking the charge. Thank you for bringing this to our platform. Everybody go follow Rob. Go check out free Linqto. The press release is out now. This is all breaking within the last 30 minutes. I'm going to go read the filing myself. We will circle back for a full update as this case proceeds. But from me, from Rob, we are here to help you and defend you. Any other closing comments, Rob?
If you know anyone that's affected by this, please share Zach's video with them. Give them hope. Give them courage. Do not have them, this has been an emotional slog for a lot of people. People are just despondent, Zach, and I understand it. We cannot have this happen to us. Not in this world, not in a world of fairness and justice and common sense and morality. This is not openness and transparency and accountability is what DLT is all about. Yeah. We got to have those three things apply to this case. And if we don't, then we're saying out of one side of our mouth, we believe in crypto and DLT. And on the other side of the mouth, we say, but it doesn't apply to the justice system. I don't give two damns about that.
Yeah.
No, we have to believe in transparency, accountability, and fairness and justice, and one set of governance standards for everyone. Not the elites get this set of rules and the unwashed masses get another set. That's not what DLT is about. And justice can't be that way.
No. And we're going to use our platform to step in front of those who try to make it go that way, because it's just not how America was founded. It's not how America is going to be. And we will continue to stand the line and put up the fight there. And it's an absolute pleasure to have you back on, Rob, for the update. I thank you once again. For all parties involved or interested, continue to stay updated with Rob. Continue to circle back here to this channel. We'll bring you the updates in real time. And I'm happy to share another side of this story. An evolving situation. We'll stay over the target, and we will absolutely be holding the line. Thank you, Rob, once again. Everybody else for stopping by, and I will see you guys